Hi there, I care and you matter. I'm Shannon and welcome to my channel. I'm a stress mitigation strategist and a soft skills educator, and I share stories, strategies, and solutions to help you bounce back, stress less, and ultimately feel better. Now, before I jump into this video, I want to share a little bit about what those big fancy words mean, and actually I made some of them up. I call myself a stress mitigation strategist because it took me a long time to get to this place. First of all, stress. I kept working and living for a time, that bright light at the end of the tunnel where everything was going to be copacetic and great. Yeah, that never came. And I unfortunately realized that stress was going nowhere, and I had to learn to live with it. Stress was always going to come. It's always going to come for all of us. What I needed to do was learn, develop, create ways to mitigate it. And by that, I simply mean lessen its severity, lessen the negative impact that stress had on my life. And when I mean stress in a variety of ways, shapes, and forms. And then strategies, because, well, I was never going to win or wage war with stress and win because it was always going to be here. It is a profound opponent. But what I could do is create strategies to mitigate it, lessen it, make it less negatively impactful on my life, make things easier. In other words, stress less. So that's why I call myself a stress mitigation strategist. And you know what? Big surprise. Woo woo. You can do it too. Anybody can. And those are the kinds of things I want to teach here on my channel and talk about in my books. The next thing is I'm a soft skills educator. I had to leave the classroom. I used to work as a classroom teacher. That was my career. Always wanted to do it, and I loved it. When we adopted our son internationally, he came with a ton of special needs, which we were entirely unaware of. That's another story for another video. But in short, I had to reinvent myself. I had to find a way to make an income from home, and I started working as a curriculum designer, a curriculum writer. So I write for a nonprofit organization, and I've been doing that for about 14, 15 years now, and I love it. But it dawned on me I could be doing that for adults, not just children, or for anybody. And I have a real heart and passion for soft skills. But what is soft skills, or what are soft skills? Well, first of all, hard skills, the opposite. Hard skills are the things you get taught in school, like reading, writing, math, things that are easy to teach step by step by step. Soft skills, on the other hand, are the skills that I call them essential life skills, the skills you need to just function as a human being on a daily basis. That would be decision-making skills. It would be personal management skills, like your time management. Are you able to prioritize things? Communication skills. How do you talk to and communicate with other people? Your body language. How do you interpret other people's body language? It could be dealing with emotional management. How do you work through your own feelings? How do you prioritize what's important to you? How do you show other people respect? How do you handle conflict management? You get the idea. Those are soft skills. And ironically enough, when I was in the classroom, teaching those kinds of skills came very naturally to me. Probably because I've had to gain those skills very intentionally on my own. I have a pocket full of ACEs. That's what I like to call it. ACEs stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. And I won't go into any of all that. But a lot of good has come out of those things. And I'm trying to channel that into sharing strategies, solutions, ideas, tips, techniques, tactics with other people to make their life easier and to help them ultimately bounce back, resiliency, stress less, mitigate stress, and feel better. And a lot goes into feeling better. We can feel better physically. We can feel better mentally. We can feel better emotionally. But ultimately, that's what I am focusing on on this channel, in my videos, in my books, on my Etsy shop. And so today I'm going to share 3 specific things you can do or should do to help yourself when somebody just refuses to hear you. And I had this idea came to me, this idea for the video came to me because I had this situation happen to me just a few days ago with Mark's teacher. Now, Mark is 17, but he's pretty low functioning. He's got an IQ of about 52. So he's in a self-contained special education classroom. And an opportunity came up for Mark to do something, and I disagreed with it. I didn't want him participating in that simply because I think it was a liability. I was concerned about his safety. I was concerned about the safety of other people. And I just felt more comfortable if Mark didn't participate. No big deal. Said no on the permission slip, sent that back. Well, a couple days later, I received some emails. Again, asking the same question. Are you sure? Believe me, I was sure. I was sure when I said no on that permission slip, and I was sure when I was reiterating that in the email. A couple days after that, I get a phone call. And again, she's asking me the same questions. And I said no very politely, very nicely, very kindly. And I thought it should have been the end of the conversation, but it was not. She kept repeating herself. And then I kept repeating myself. And my frustration level started to increase. And my anger, if I can be honest, was starting to boil up in me. And I said something I probably shouldn't have said, but it was true. I said, I don't know how to say no any clearer. Is there a way I can say no that you will understand? And that was coming from a place of honesty. I honestly was at my wit's end. No should have been no, with with the permission slip. But it wasn't. And we've all been there. We've all been in situations or conversations where the other person at the other end just does not hear us for whatever reason. Well, we can't control what they do or their response. What we can do is control what we do and our response. Now, I'm not proud of this. Jason, my husband, had to come take the phone away from me. Why? Because he heard me keep saying the same things over and over and over. And so I took that situation. I decided I'm going to jot down 3 things that can help me when I get into that same situation again, because it will happen. So I decided to share those with you in this video today. So the first thing to do is remember to keep it short and simple. Clear is kind. Concise is kind. And the clearer we are, the less confusion, the less potential for misunderstanding for there to be. Not only is it kind for the person receiving it, even if they don't agree with it or don't want to hear it, it's kind for us. The simpler and the less complicated, the less convoluted we can make it, the easier on us. The less we're going to stumble on our words, the less chance of it being misunderstood. So I kept saying no. And then she kept interrupting me. Well, I can't affect or change her. All I was doing is keeping it simple. I didn't have to give a reason. I didn't have to give an excuse. I didn't even have to give my own thinking or all my worries and concerns that were behind and backing my no. No was no, and she needed to respect that. Second, avoid repeating yourself ad nauseum. I am so guilty of this. Oh, and that's why Jason ultimately had to come take the phone away from me. I just got into this cycle of repeating myself. I was frustrated with her, but looking back at it, I needed to turn the mirror on myself because I was just as guilty. It takes 2 to tango, takes 2 to ping pong in a conversation, and I kept hitting that ball back at her by repeating myself. No, I should have put the darn paddle down. I should have just said, I'm sorry, there's nothing else to say. No is no. My answer is still no, and you're not going to change my mind. But thank you for calling. No, I wasn't even appreciative for the phone call, to be honest with you. I could have just said thank you for respecting my decision, because it was my decision to make, not hers. And so when you're in a situation like this, it's okay to say it once, twice, maybe even 3 times to reiterate it. But know when enough is enough. Preserve your own mental energy, preserve your own words, preserve your sanity, and respect yourself enough to know that you've already made the decision, you've expressed the decision, and now it's up to the other person to accept it. Whether or not they do, you have no control over. But you can protect yourself by ending the conversation and getting out. And that leads me to the last and final step, which is step out of the situation or conversation. In other words, create space. Now, if you're in a situation where somebody is not hearing you, or you just honestly haven't come to a conclusion or a real decision, or maybe you're hearing some new information that has made your own stance a little squishy and nebulous, it's okay to take yourself off that imaginary timer. I mean, all of us feel stress and pressure to give a decision or an answer or respond right away in the moment. Stop doing that. That often leads to regret. It often leads to overextending ourselves. Why we do that, I don't know. There's very few decisions in life, very few conversations that require an immediate response in the moment. So stop that, that imaginary timer, take yourself off the stopwatch, and instead say, hey, can I get back to you on this? Let me know. I'll text you in a couple days, or I'll let you know via email, or I'll give you a call, or I'll let you know at such and such a date. You don't want to drag anybody along, but it's patently unfair to expect yourself to make a wise and thought out decision in the moment, sometimes under duress. And when you put somebody off, it's not about sweeping it under the rug. It's not about trying to delay it, to avoid it. Instead, it shows that you really care about the decision that you're making. It shows that you want to step away and take the time needed in order to really think it through and make a careful decision. That's not a bad thing. If somebody else gets defensive about it, again, that's them. And that's more reflective of their impatience and their unwillingness to accept and respect the fact that you need to take time to walk through and think through something. So, in other words, create that space. I could have created space for myself in this situation by telling the teacher, hey, we've already talked about this. I'm sorry. I value your time and I value my time. We don't need to talk about this anymore. That would have been, albeit an assertive way to handle the conversation, but it certainly would have been more respectful and more productive than this constant ping pong, back and forth, back and forth. So those are 3 ways or 3 strategies you can use when somebody is just not hearing you. Keep it short and simple. Remember that clear is kind for both you, the speaker, and the recipient. 2, avoid repeating yourself ad nauseum. Stop it. You are in control. You're not in control of whether or not they respect what you're saying. You're not in control of whether or not they're hearing it. But you are in control in the conversation. It takes 2 to have the conversation. No one to stop it. And 3, create space. Create space to either think it through if you're still on the fence about something, or create space to just cool off. That's definitely the space that I was in the other day. So I hope that these strategies help you in the future. Practice situations in advance when you can. Think of different ways that you can express yourself in advance so that the words are already there at the tip of your tongue when you need them. It's so hard to think on your feet sometimes, especially when the frustration or the stress starts to fuel up. So anyway, again, I hope these strategies help mitigate the stress you might feel the next time somebody is simply not hearing you. Thanks so much for watching. If you don't mind, please subscribe, give a like, and comment below if you like this kind of video. This is much more off the cuff that I'm used to, so we'll see how this goes. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.